Welcome back to another session of Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. I know it's been a few days since we have actually met or actually published a video. So we are actually making some changes. From today onwards, I'll be discussing not just from the Hindu, but I'll take articles or the content relevant from other platforms and other sites like the Indian Express, PIB and so on. So in today's newspaper, we have I'm thinking of actually talking about 10 articles today. We have some prelims as well as some mains topic of importance. We had to discuss about the UCC, then we have to talk about the rainfall patterns in India, why is it lowest in August. We have the super blue moon phenomena. I hope everyone has seen the super blue moon phenomena, and we will discuss in detail what is super blue moon and how rare it is. Then we have the phishing attack. Raman Magsaysay Award is very important. You can actually quote this as some of the examples of Indian origin person who actually got the award, Raman Magsaysay Award this year. You can actually contribute his what all he has done in the field as an example or introduction in the essay. Then we have China's new standard map of 2023. We have to deal with some of the issues of territorial disputes which China shares not just with India but other neighboring countries as well. We have the fiscal deficit touched 33.9%, which means that we have actually achieved 33.9 or 34% of our target. Then open network for digital commerce, this is not a new topic, it will be more like a revision for you. Then we have the Sparse plasma on moon which has been founded by the Vikram lander in Chandrayaan 3. Then we have the economy growth 7.8% faster in 4 quarters. So let us move on to our first topic, that is the progressive UCC must protect a child best interest. So if you are looking for the Uniform Civil Code, what all that comes in our mind is like when bringing UCC, all the religions, that the Hindu, Muslim, intercaste succession, in the case of succession, marriage, divorce, inheritance, all these will fall into a common book of laws and not just the religious books of laws. So in all this, what we a case which we are missing is about a child rights, the custody rights of a child. So in the case, it talks about 2 cases of some diverse parents, and also of biological and adoptive parents. So there is 2 cases of child rights or cases of custody that is actually discussed in the article. So let us look on one. So you see, we have the Guardians and Wards Act of 1918 which actually talks about the custody of the child, and it actually puts forward that the welfare of the child is the foremost priority. That is actually mentioned in the Guardians and the Wards Act of 1890. But if you are looking into different acts of Hindus, of Islam and something, there are actually the custody rights actually varies between. So if you are looking in the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act of 1956, it states that the father has the natural guardianship. Father is the natural guardianship of the child. In a case of a divorce, the father will have the more right to the child custody rather than the mother. The mother will have it only for when the child attains till 5 years of age. The Supreme Court in the Geeta Hariharan case in 1999 also clarified that after a father only, the mother will get the custodial rights. If in the absence of father, it doesn't mean after the life of the father or the death of the father. It just means if the father is not physically present or in his absence, the mother will actually take the custody of the child. So this case was actually clarified in the Geeta Hariharan case of 1999. So if you are looking into Islamic laws, they actually give more priority to the child rights of the child rather than the custodian rights of the parents. So if you are looking, there are many schools of thoughts or many different styles of custodies under the Islamic law. We have the Hanafi, Shafi, Hanbali and Maliki. So it's not important that you actually learn the type of schools or the custodies that comes under it. The only thing which you need to know here is that the right of the child is in major focus here. The child will be under the custody of the mother in even if it's until the marriage age or 7 years or 17 years, the mother has the sole or the natural right to authority in the case of Islamic law. So if you are looking in the Hindu Act, the father has the natural right. Here mother in the Islamic law has the natural right. The father comes at number 6th position after the mother's mother, the paternal mothers and such. Then only at the number 6 the father has the custodial rights. So majorly the custody rights is actually going to the mother and looks more into the welfare of the child. So now if you are looking into the case of adoptive and biological parents, you see the Supreme Court or the High Courts always actually rule in favor of the biological parents. So there is actually a more influence near that. Indian courts are attaching greater importance to the claims of biological parents. If you are just claiming at this, we might feel that this is very important, that the child actually belongs to the biological parent. So it is important that the child goes back to the biological parents. So now we should actually look into this mentality. So if you are looking in 2023, there was a case in the Bombay High Court where the custody of the child is actually given to the biological father. This biological father, he was actually accused of a rape case which actually resulted in the birth of this child. So if you are looking into the backstory of this case, this man, the biological father, fell in love with a girl who was actually a minor, 17 years old. So they kind of eloped and resulted in the birth of the child in question. So the parents of the girl actually registered a case, rape case, against this biological father, claiming that he raped that minor girl. And he was actually sent to jail. The girl, wanting to have a better life, gave up this child for adoption so that she can have good life, she can marry again. So this child in question was actually put up for adoption. So this biological father in the meantime got actually bail, and he now wants a custody of his child. So this child in question, now you, as you see here, you can see the trouble in between the biological father, mother and the adoptive parents. What we actually missing here is the trauma that the child is put into. Between each case, between each parents, the child is dragged behind the court, behind the parents, behind the adoptive parents. So if you are looking, Nasreen Begum case in 2022. Here also the Allahabad High Court actually gave the custody of the child back to the biological parents. So if you are looking in this case, the biological parents gave up their baby when the baby was just 3 months old for adoption. For almost 6 years, the child has been living with his adoptive parents. So now the parents actually want their child back when their financial ability has improved. So the family court actually ruled in favor of the adoptive parents that for the 6 years of the child's life, they have been giving the love and taking care of this child, while the biological parents actually gave the baby for adoption when the baby was just 3 months old, when the child was just 3 months old. Now when their financial condition has actually improved and they are wanting the child back, the child in the question here is not a property of the biological parents. In a way, they could actually give away or take the baby away, take the child away just based on their biological right. So thus the family court actually ruled that in favor of the adoptive parents, that the girl child will go back to the adoptive parents and not the biological parents. If you are looking in Iftikhar case which was gave in 2021 Bombay High Court, like in Muslim laws, the adoption is actually not valid or not considered that much. Ignoring this fact, the Bombay High Court actually ruled the child in favor of the adoptive parents and not that of the biological parents. The child in question was just 5 days old when the biological parents gave it up for adoption. For almost a lot of time, the adoptive parents has been taking care of the child, even taking care of the child during his phase of jaundice and such. So in the Bombay High Court actually ruled in case of the adoptive parents. So here what we need to understand is that there should be a case like the custody rights of the child should also come under the UCC, such that like we have common laws in marriage, divorce and everything. Why can't there be a common law throughout India just for the custody of child? How a child right should be considered? We should actually consider the best interest of the child here. This child is actually put through trauma. Even the adoptive parents go through such a trauma when there is actually clashes between the custody rights in the case of a biological as well as an adoptive parents. So this must also be added when we are actually considering or framing India to come under a united common law. Now moving on, we have India sees the lowest August rainfall in the century. So if you are looking, this is the year 1966. Now this is 2023. So if you are looking, there has been a consistent decrease in the rainfall level. So if you are looking, this is the highest. In 2023, we witnessed 36% less rainfall, which is actually compared to that of a century. Now that is what is actually mentioned here. If you are considering this 1 century from 1966 onwards, there has been a 36% reduction in the rainfall, especially what we are getting in the month of August. Usually we get a less rainfall in the August, but this year it has been 36% less than what the rainfall we used to be getting back for a century. Of the 4 monsoon months, August usually sees the most amount of rainfall after July with about 28 centimeter. Now like this is actually very less than it is used to be. So we can actually name a lot of factors here. The El Nino is going on, the Indian Ocean Dipole is not working well, there is break days happening. The break days actually, it refers to the rainless stretches during the monsoon months that actually happens between the months of June and September. Now these break days, these are rainless stretch of days, and this happens mainly due to the change in the direction of wind and weakening of the low pressure areas. Now both of this we will be actually looking into more details about. So you see here, in the first map here we are seeing the southwestern monsoon in the year 2023. If you are seeing all these red lines, these are the normal days or the normal dates of the onset of monsoon in different areas. So if you are seeing here all these areas, they will actually receive the monsoon in 15 June, 20 June, 25 June. So there are kind of a days in which this region will actually get the rainfall. This is actually estimate on the onset of the normal dates where we can actually get the monsoon. The blue line shows the actual dates where this monsoon falls. So if you can see here, there was the early onset of monsoon in areas, but the problem of early monsoon, what happened in 2023 year is that there was a shift in the wind and the rainfall patterns. So if you are seeing here, on 15 June it actually came through the central India, but there is actually a gap and then the rainfall actually falls in this northern region. So after this area, all this area was arid and they didn't get any rainfall, and all this rainfall accumulated into this northern region. So you have seen there is a lot of rainfall happening, landslides, avalanche and such because of excessive rainfalls in northern India. We know the case of Himachal and such. So if you are seeing here, these area actually should have got the rainfall, but there was a skip from this area then suddenly to this area and all this area actually being arid. So that is what one case that actually happened in our monsoon this year. So if you are looking into other factors, what happened? So like there is a concept of monsoon trough which you need to understand before we get into this. The monsoon trough is the creation of a low pressure area. So this low pressure area when it's created, low pressure is created because that particular area. So if you see here, this red area, this is a low pressure area. This is created because there is very high temperature in this area which actually resulted in a very low pressure creating within the region. So this low pressure actually attracts winds from the high pressure area. This is actually basic geography which you would actually know. So this low pressure area attracts the wind from the high pressure area. So you see here there is low pressure area created in the Western Ghats region, there is low pressure area created in this region. So this is actually the normal monsoon trough. This low pressure area, the winds will come in and you will get rainfall in these both areas. But what happened here, that is the normal monsoon trough. But what happened is that there was a shift of this monsoon trough. Normally it should have come here, now it shifted to the Himalayan region. So this area, there is no rainfall, they are not getting any rainfall at all, and this rainfall and this monsoon trough actually shifted to the Himalayan areas. So now in this Himalayan area there is excessive rainfall. Now you see, you know Himalayas is unstable which has loose rocks and loose soils and such. With excessive rainfall there is a high chance of development of landslides, floods and such that is happen in the Himalayan area. Now we know the Himachal area problems of the flood and something in Himachal area, Joshimath issues and such is happening because there is a shift in the monsoon patterns. Excessive rains will actually damage the Himalayan regions. Now we can also find that in the coming days there is going to be a shift of this monsoon trough to south. Now this is the area it should have come, now it is shifting to south, which means that this area will not get rainfall again, and this rainfall like the states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, Karnataka would actually benefit more from the shifting of monsoon trough to the south. So all this also takes place because if there is a weak low pressure area, there won't be any rain at all and it won't attract any winds as such. So if you are looking at another concept which you need to know here is the mascarene high. So in the mascarene high is actually an area in this African region. This is high pressure areas. So you know, as I have told you, the wind actually blows from high pressure region to low pressure region. Okay, so in India if we are creating a low pressure region here and there is a high pressure region here, there is a shift of wind from the high pressure region to low pressure region. And this wind, actually I told you, from after crossing the equator, because of Coriolis force, it actually changes the direction and it actually boosts our southwest monsoon region. But the problem is that if the low pressure area is weak in India, then there won't be any high pressure winds from this high pressure region coming to boost up the southwestern monsoon, because of which there will be more drier and less rainfall. Now, a condition that could actually benefit this is the positive IOD, that is the Indian Ocean Dipole. In this case, we are actually looking into, we have Indian Ocean Dipole that is positive and as well as negative Indian Ocean Dipole. In the case of a positive Indian Ocean Dipole, the Arabian Sea area will be warmer and this area will be cold. As I have told you, if it is warm, it will be high temperature. It is actually going to create a low pressure condition here. As I have told you, we have masculine high here. So, because of which this would actually boost our southwestern monsoon. In another case, this negative IOD. Negative IOD is where the Bay of Bengal will be warm and this Arabian Sea will be cold, because of which there will be low pressure created here and it will be high pressure in this area, because of which it won't aid the southern monsoon. It would actually create more drier condition and the Australia such will receive much more rainfall in this area. So, if we have to shift from this area, this is something which could actually be better, that is a positive IOD would actually help aid India get more wet monsoon. So, that is this whole topic about. You should know the topics about El Nino, what is happening. You should remember the masculine high, about the Indian Ocean Dipole, and you should have a faint idea about this monsoon trough and how it shifts. Now, moving on, we have the topic of today, that is the super blue moon. Now, this is the most spectacular event that we have seen recently. So, this is the first super blue moon of the year and we can see that the moon was in close proximity to the earth, which was nearer to earth by about 3,57,000 kilometers, and the Saturn was also visible about 5 degrees above, approximately 5 degrees above the upper part of the moon. Saturn was also visible in this case. So, I will tell you what is, there is super blue moon is not just one phenomenon. There is a super moon, there is a blue moon, and it is a very rare occurrence that there is super blue moon. So, we need to know what is super moon, we need to know what is blue moon, and then how a super blue moon is created. So, you see here in this figure, you can see here, as I have told you, the moon is nearer to the earth, as I have 3,57,000 kilometers. The moon is in the perigee position. The moon actually orbits around the earth in an elliptical path. In one such place in the perigee area, the moon is actually much more nearer to earth, and in the apogee area, moon is far away by about 4 lakh kilometers away from the earth. So, in such a position, when the moon is very nearer to earth, we can actually see the moon much more bigger and much more brighter. So, if you see, the moon appears 14% larger and 13% brighter than a typical full moon that we actually see. So, it has so this moon appears larger and brighter than normal. Now, this actually causes, because the moon is much more near and it's much more bigger and there is going to be a lot of gravitational attraction, because of which it could actually create higher tides and stronger gravitational forces, which could actually affect the weather, wildlife and even human behavior as such. So, this is the moon is at the closest point to the earth in its orbit, and it is also has to be a full moon. So, that is how a super moon is created. It has to be a full moon and it has to be closer to the earth, which is actually 3,57,000, and it is a point of perigee. So, it is a perigee and that is very closest to earth. Now, we need to know what is a blue moon. So, blue moon, typically when we say blue moon, the moon is not in blue in color. That is a common misconception. The moon is not in actually blue in color. The situation is when two full moon is actually seen within a single month. We have a single full moon in 1 month. If there is two full moon which is happening in 1 month, that is called a blue moon. So, this is not typically blue in color. Like we can actually make like sometimes because of smoke or ash or scattering of light, the moon may at some part of the place it may appear bluish, but it has nothing to do with the moon being in blue color. So the blue moons mean 2 full moons happening within a month and it's not blue in color. That's something which you need to know. So as I have told you, so what is super blue moon? As I have told you, in this August month we have seen 2 full moons. There was already 1 full moon and recently there was another full moon. So it actually became blue moon. Now the moon was also in the perigee area, which means closer to the earth. It was full moon, it was in the perigee position, which so it was actually super moon. So both coincided together to become a super blue moon. Now it's a very rare phenomenon. It only happens once in 10 years. Sometimes it could happen in once in even 20 years, and the next super blue moon is actually expected to be at 2037. So you should know super moon, blue moon, and then together you have the super blue moon. Now moving on to our next topic, we have phishing attack. So the Supreme Court recently gave out some guidelines to be protected against phishing attack, and they strongly advise public to neither click or share links without verifying the authenticity of such data. So no such registry of the Supreme Court will ever ask for any personal information or financial details or any confidential information. So because of which you should be very important that no other, like the government website or such, won't be asking about such personal details. So you should be very careful what you link and what to share as well. So that should be the authenticity of that such message should be verified. So we should first know about phishing attacks. So there is 2 types of phishing attacks. There is a normal phishing attack and then it's a spear phishing attack. So if you see here, phishing, just plainly phishing means that we are targeting a lot of people in common, not just one person. Like if you like in a phishing, when you are like phishing like for a colony of fishes or something, you are actually putting that link. Many people, like you may not know, like many people might even come and like view this, because of which it gets attacked. So this phishing attack is broad and it's automated attack and it's very less sophisticated. But whereas the spear attack is actually customized and target toward a particular source. You have a person from which you need to extract some sensitive information. So you particularly target that person alone with malicious details or links or such. So that is called the spear phishing. That spear phishing is targeting one person alone. So that is one here. So phishing, like total phishing is like you target a group of people, like it need not be a single person alone, but the spear phishing is that you are sophisticatedly looking into a particular person alone. You see a person who has a particular detail that you want, you target the person, pose as one of their trusted sources and then attack that victim and get the sensitive data. So that is what is called spear phishing. It's actually targeted cyber attack towards an individual or an organization. They extract sensitive information data from their victims in the form of phishing email or malicious links. Now this phishing, spear phishing is more dangerous than any other attacks. Now we have the Raman Magsaysay award. As I have told you, you can actually quote this person or awardee in your essays, and you can actually even put it in your ethics as well. So this Raman Magsaysay is actually the 7th president of Philippines. Now this award is actually given all throughout Asia and not just restricted to Philippines alone. And this award recognizes and honors individuals and other organizations from all across Asia who has actually done particularly significant, like who has actually generously helped people without gaining any public attention. So in 2023 the award goes to actually R. Ravi Kannan. He is actually a director of a Kachar Cancer Hospital and Research Center in Assam. So he is actually credited with revolutionizing the cancer treatment process through people to people-centric and pro-poor healthcare in Assam without getting any profit or financial benefits or looking for a public attention or something. He was a person keen and generous and helping other people. So this award was Raman Magsaysay award was actually given to R. Ravi Kannan. Now the hospital actually introduced the poor initiatives such as free treatment, food and lodging, and also employment for the caregivers. Also home care programs for patients who couldn't afford the hospitals or couldn't travel long distance to come to hospital. So all this were actually looked under this Cancer Research and Foundation that is laid on by R. Ravi Kannan. The prize is actually presented in a ceremony in Manila, that is Philippines. It is given every year in August 31st and takes place in the capital city of Philippines, that is Manila. The Raman Magsaysay award, as I have told you, is the Asia's highest honor, which is given to the person who actually portrays the spirit of demonstrating selfless devotion to Asia's people through public service. Raman Magsaysay is the Philippines' 7th president, and this award was dedicated for him. Moving on, we have China's new standard map for 2023. So recently in the newspaper you have seen that India has been protesting against China's new map. Not just India but other countries like Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia has been protesting about the recent map that is given out by China, claiming that as their territory. Now in India, if you are looking, China has claimed territories like Arunachal Pradesh, Aksai Chin, etc. in the Chinese map as well. So if you are looking here, this is the map that has been given out by China. So you can see India here. You can see India. So you can see India here. This is a part of India which China has claimed. This is a part of Arunachal Pradesh that China has actually claimed. And also you can see, if the South China Sea disputed area, this is the 9-line area which is actually claimed by China. Even Taiwan and other disputed islands like Parcel Islands, Scarborough Islands, etc. also comes under the map that has been released by China. China does this every once and now, and China is never reliable partners. Now, like even with India and Philippines and Malaysia as such, there has been talks of territory dispute resolution. But now even like we have to talk about resolution of dispute territories boundaries between India and China. Now this has actually increased that problem much more again. So the Philippines, Malaysia, etc. claim that China is actually violating the maritime border that has been actually given by a 1982 UN clause, that is the United Nations Conventions on the Law of Sea, which actually demarcates the maritime territory boundary of each country and portrays its exclusive economic zones and such. Now this has been violated by China. Moving on, we have the fiscal deficit touched 33.9% of financial year 24 target. So if you are seeing here, in 2022 the fiscal deficit was about 6.7%. In 2023 we have actually reduced it to 6.4%, and the target for the financial year 24 is to reduce the fiscal deficit by about 5.9%. So this fiscal deficit is actually a difference between our expenditure and our revenue. If our expenditure is much more and the revenue which we are getting is very less, it actually creates a deficit. So this deficit is actually known as the fiscal deficit. So in this year, like we have been trying to reduce the fiscal deficit of India for a long time. So from 6.7 to 6.4, and this year's target we are achieving 5.9%. Our long time target is like financial year 26, we want to achieve the fiscal deficit below 4.5%. So that is our long time target, and this year's target is for 5.9%. So the article states that we have achieved about 33.9% or 34% of the target to achieve 5.9% in the fiscal year. So as I have told you, fiscal deficit is the gap between the expenditure and the revenue. Now this year the fiscal deficit was about 6.06 lakh crore by the end of July. Now this is actually given by the release by the Controller General Accounts of India. So that is the small article dealing about. Now moving on, we have the Open Network for Digital Commerce. Now recently a white paper was actually published by Deloitte India on Thursday, which actually talked about the importance of ONDC. Now they stated that the ONDC is a pivotal force in enhancing India's digital commerce sector, which is actually projected to get about 350 billion by 2030. So it presents an opportunity for business of all sizes, small vendors, medium vendors, large vendors, everybody to come together in a common basic platform, so they can actually transact more seamlessly. At presently, the India's e-commerce actually represent only about 4.3% of the retail commerce in India. So this ONDC is not just targeting or limiting to the retail sector, but it's also diverging to a lot of other digital sectors as such. So ONDC is basically a freely accessible government backed platform in India, which aims to democratize e-commerce by making it more platform centric model, so that they can actually buy and sell goods and services. All the sellers will be present in one platform, and the individuals as a customer, we can choose from where we want to buy. So this will benefit both sellers and buyers, and we will get more variety of products, and the sellers who are small vendors would also get exposed to this platform, so that they could actually sell their products much better. Now this is actually initiated by the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. There is a lot of advantages, as I have told you. The small vendors could also come into this platform, and as per the customer we would have much more varieties of products which we can buy from. So that is what this ONDC is actually about. Now we have the sparse plasma on moon. So in the prelims case, the important thing which you need to know here is the Rampa LP. So this Rampa, you no need to remember the full name, the radio anatomy of moon bound hypersensitive ionosphere and atmosphere Langmuir probe. You need not remember the name. So you just need to know what the Rampa LP is a part of the Vikram lander, and it is actually used to study the temporal evolution of electron density in the lunar ionosphere. That is what this Rampa LB is for, to study the electrons and the ionosphere, the particles we have in the lunar surfaces. Now this Rampa LP has actually detected plasma in the lunar surface. Now we will know much more about this in the coming articles in the coming days. Moving on to our last topic, we have the economy grows 7.8% fastest in the 4 quarters. So if you are looking, this is the growth rate of different structures. So if you are taking construction sector, there is actually a growth of 7.9%. In the construction sector, there comes the infrastructure and development. There is more job creation. The growth in construction sector means that much more people, infrastructure is being created. There is a lot of expenditure going on, and also because of which there is a 7.9% increase of growth in infrastructure development. If you are looking in agriculture, there is a growth of 3.5%. But this agriculture growth could actually go down in the coming months because there is an onset of El Nino and other delays caused in the monsoon region, because of which we can actually expect that the agriculture growth may actually reduce. If you are looking into other sectors, the manufacturing showed a growth of about 4.7%. Hotel, transport, communication, they showcase a growth of about 9.2%. Finance and real estate, professional service saw growth of 12.2%. You need not by heart these numbers. The only thing which you need to remember is that in these sectors we have actually seen a growth in the year, in the quarter, in the 4 quarters. So that is what there you should know, the increase in trends or the decrease in trends. If what all sectors there was growth, positive growth, negative growth. So these are the important things which you need to know. Now, practice question we have, with reference to the Quality Council of India, consider the following statements. QCI was set jointly by the Government of India and the Indian industry. The chairman of QCI is appointed by the Prime Minister on the recommendations of the industry to the government. So, both the statements are actually true. This is also a previous year question, that is 2017. The QCI was set jointly by the Government of India and the Indian industries and is appointed by the Prime Minister. Now, what are some effects of supermoon on Earth? So as I have told you, we know what the effects of supermoon. As I have already told you, there is higher tides and stronger waves when there is supermoon. The moon will be much closer to that of Earth. There will be lower tides and weaker waves. That is very wrong. Increased volcanic activity, decreased volcanic activity, these doesn't actually come even in the case of supermoon. Mainly which we need to remember, there is a gravitational pull is getting higher, there is higher tides and stronger waves. So in this case only one is correct. So that is it for today. We have discussed a lot of topics, 10 topics, and you should remember like some key topics like the UCC, super blue moon, as well as the rainfall patterns of increase, the monsoon trough, the El Nino, and such is very important. So that is it for today. We will see you again in tomorrow's class. Thank you and have a nice day.